I'm going to read this. We're incorporating, so there's some legal things I have to do now when I do live webinars. So I'm going to read this out loud to you guys. This webinar is being recorded. By participating in this webinar, you agree that Angelique Robbins owns all rights to this recording, and you grant her permission to use your image and any written or spoken comments you choose to offer during the course of this webinar in any manner she chooses. So if you don't want to be recorded, then you might want to log off and look at it later, because I put these on my YouTube channel so that people that weren't able to be a part of it also watch it. There's also an option to stop your video, so you can still be on the call, but you won't be on the video. So if it bothers you, you can do that too. Okay. On that note, let's get going, shall we? So I'm going to mute all of you. Okay. Once I figure out how to mute you. Hello, Gaia. Okay, so you guys know how this starts. I'm going to sing Geshikta's song. I believe all of you have been a part of this before, so I'm not going to explain what Geshikta is or anything like that. All right, so just relax, and I will sing. After I'm done singing, then you'll be speaking to Geshikta, the angelic realm, and they're going to talk to you guys today about the art of power. Say Safanata Say Safanata Ooh, ooh, hey, safe come, saken, safe come, saken. Ooh, safe now. Ooh, for say, safe come, saken. Hey, Onote, hey, Onote. Come forte, he come forte, come forte, he come forte, hey, forte, ha, ei, forte, home, for San Tien Kenu Home for San Tien Kenu Niam fortiate, Niam fortiate, home for San Tien Kenu. Hello, everyone. Good to see all of you. Can all of you hear us? If you can, give a thumbs up. Okay, good. Very good. Hello, Keith.
Hello.
So, the art of power. We have done one other live webinar about the art of power before, but we forgot to record it. But it's a great topic, and it can be explored many times, because power is similar to the word love, isn't it? Okay, we're reading a chat. We just meant thumbs up if you're on the screen. Thank you, Maria. So power, in its essence, has a lot of different meanings, doesn't it? And so when you think of the word power, it really depends on what context you're thinking about that word in order to discover what your definition would be, isn't it? So there's power in all different areas of life. And then there's power that seems to have the force of good, and then there's power that seems to have the force of evil. So when you start dissecting all of these different elements of life that can have power within them, you have to start really investigating what that word represents energetically in order to be able to use it in so many different contexts. So we're going to describe it in this way, with this type of understanding. This is the approach we're going to take with it. And when you hear us speak about it, you can apply it to anything and understand what we're speaking about. All right, so in order for something to be powerful, that means that it has a lot of energy, first and foremost. And a lot of energy is a few different things combined, okay? So a lot of energy is like saying strength, right? Because to not have a lot of energy would be more like weak, correct? And if something is weak, you guys really don't think of it as being powerful, do you? So the first thing that we would say describes power, no matter what setting you're talking about, what concept you're talking about, is strength. It means something about it is strong. Now, something can be strong and not be desirable, right? Like stage 4 cancer. That's strong. That's got a lot of a certain kind of energy. It's powerful, but it's not something that you really want to be powerful, right? But what that means when something has strength is that it has accumulated a lot of momentum, energetic momentum, okay? So what creates energetic momentum? What is it within your life experience that creates energetic momentum? So I want you guys to think about this, all right? Number one, something that creates energy momentum, energetic momentum, has a lot of thought. A lot of thought is poured into it in one way or another, okay? A lot of emotion is poured into it in one way or another. Now, when you think about those two components, thought and emotion, those are all over the map. Thoughts can be beneficial or they can be harmful. Emotions can be beneficial or they can feel harmful. But either one of them, when practiced regularly, builds a momentum, okay? Now, those are two components that are somewhat invisible, and really the only person who has a lot of knowledge about what type of momentum your thoughts and emotions are having is you, because you're the one having the experience. All right, so if thoughts and emotions contribute to the strength of a momentum, then thoughts and emotions contribute to power. So we want you guys really to, when you walk away from this webinar, we want you to think deeply about that, okay? Because there have been people in your time on earth that have been extremely powerful people, but have done some really horrific things, all right? So power doesn't always mean that it's aligned with goodness. Sometimes power is not aligned with goodness, and that's why it can be, because thoughts and emotions contribute to it. All right, so what else follows thoughts and emotions? Actions. Actions follow thoughts, actions follow emotions. And when you take action onto something, you've added another component of energetic momentum to it, haven't you? Because now you've really included the physical realm. Now you've included things that even in a public eye cannot be erased, all right? So that contributes another element of emotion or of momentum. So you've got thoughts, emotions, and action. Now, just thinking about those three things, consider that if someone contributes their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions towards something, is it more likely they're going to get results with it? The answer is yes. Now, what's interesting is that in general, humankind is not that great at being focused. So your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are kind of all over the place, kind of sprinkled here and there. Thoughts here, thoughts there. You have splits in all kinds of things. You have different opinions about all kinds of things. Now, what happens when you're having different emotions, different thoughts, and different actions is it's basically splitting all of the energy that you've got, okay? So if you haven't really made a decision about the way you're going to think, emote, and behave, and act, and you're not having all of those things line up, you're not going to have the greatest power. And so this is really a representation of why people have such mixed experiences in life. It's because their general energy is split in all different kinds of directions, thus really not having a lot of power in much of anything. So the first step to actually harnessing and creating great power is making a very conscious decision. When a conscious decision is made and every piece of you lines up with that decision, you start to create a very, very strong momentum. All right? So the reason we're speaking about power in this way is because this is ultimately what we feel you guys really want from this conversation. You want to understand, how do I have more power in my life to create the things that I want? And what we're saying to you is the way that you have more power in your life to create the things that you want is you get yourself better rounded up. You get yourself better aligned with yourselves. Okay? So we want you to start exploring your own understanding of that. Pick one thing that's important to you and start exploring your thoughts about it. How empowering are the thoughts that you have? Or how disempowering are the thoughts that you have? Now, in this first stage of identifying thoughts, the number one thing that you must do in order to be effective in what we're teaching you, you have to be honest. You have to be honest about what your thoughts about something is. If you're not, there's zero way for you to correct it. There's zero way for you to bring all of it into alignment, okay? So if you want more money, but some of your thoughts are, well, it's really impossible for me to have more money because I'm on a fixed income, or, well, it's really, if I have more money, then I'm going to have to figure out a different way to live my life because I'm going to have to let go of those things. And then what if that goes away? Then I won't have that. So do you see what we're saying? Just in that little conversation right there, it is an example of split energy, of wanting something but not being willing to make a decision to move toward it, okay? So instead, if you want to have more money, then your thoughts need to be more problem solving and more willing regarding money, all right? So if you want more money, then your thoughts need to be more like, all right, well, to have more money, my deep-seated belief is that I need to work for it. Since that exists, this belief that I need to work for it, I need to work. So in what area would I like to work? Okay, so I would like to work in the arts. I would like to work in the arts. Do I believe that I can make money in the arts? And then this big part of you says, no, you can't make money in the arts. And then the other part of you goes, well, damn it. I really wanted to make money in the arts. So if I can't make money in the arts, then forget it. I'll just stick with what I've got. So do you see? You started a fire and then you poured water on it. Put it out. Power gone. So you have to really start being able to get in there and find out what is the thought processes that are going on that are keeping you exactly where you are, keeping you from moving forward. So if we were to keep exploring that, well, I want more money, and I do believe that I have to work for money, but I also don't believe that there's any type of creative work I can do to make money, because I believe that any type of creative work isn't actually money making, because I'm just not good enough. So right there you go, okay, so we have an issue right here. Right here in this spot, we need to work with this, all right? So I I recognize I'm not going to be able to change my mind about this belief. I can't force myself into another belief. But I can play with other ways of thinking to see what's possible. So, well, there are other people that make money in the arts, and maybe those other people need assistance. So maybe I could work for someone else who's in the arts making money. Do I believe that's possible? Yeah, actually, I do believe that's possible. Awesome. Okay, so now you actually have found step one. Okay, step one. And so when you act on step one, what happens emotionally when you find something that you actually believe? You feel excited. You experience what we would call integration, because now you've just brought something into your awareness that you weren't fully aware of before that adds more momentum, more power to your goal. Okay? So emotionally, you're going to feel excited. You're going to feel relief. You're going to feel hope. All right? All of those are adding to the momentum of what we're teaching you is called power. So now your next thing that you must do is take action. So you've realized, okay, this is an avenue that is possible to me, so I'm going to take action on this avenue. So now you actually have to follow through with it. You have to actually find someone who's working in the arts, who inspires you, that needs help. And see, this action part is where a lot of people get hung up, especially in what we consider this New Age movement, because there's some really stupid teachings going around that if you think something enough or if you emote something enough, you can make it happen. And that is absolute bullshit, okay? Because you have to you're in a physical experience. It is meant for you to take action with things in order to experience results. If you think about achieving an A on a test, but you stay at home and take the test in your mind, does the test end up on the teacher's desk completed? No, of course it does not. So when you think about things in that way, you can see that to teach that all you have to do is sit around and think about things and emote about things and imagine things without taking action and achieve results is absolutely ludicrous. So you have to take action, all right? And this is where you're going to notice if you have issues with resistance or laziness. If you're not willing to take action, then you can be assured that you will not create momentum. And in this area, you will not achieve what you want if you're not willing to take action. Okay? So we really want you guys to understand how important this is. Anything that you want in life, you must take action toward. And you must take action toward it consistently. Okay? Because when you're talking about momentum, you're talking about consistency. Momentum is not achieved without consistency, right? Just like if you get in a car and you push on the gas and then you quit pushing on the gas, what happens to your car? It stops. The only way it'll keep going is if you're on a hill going down. And that is the type of understanding we want you to have about momentum. Once you do enough action, once you put enough effort into aligning your thoughts and emotions and actions, then you create something that starts to move seemingly on its own because you have created momentum. Now, unfortunately, most people are creating momentum in areas that they don't want to create momentum. And if you dissect any of the areas of your life that have power, that you have power, if you really them, you will have all the answers you need. And you will have all the answers you need to help you change direction. But understand that when something has strong momentum and you're going, oh, I don't want that momentum to occur anymore. I want a completely opposite momentum so that I can get the opposite results. Then you have to radically change direction. You have to radically change direction with your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, which takes what, guys? It takes presence. It takes a huge amount of presence. Consistent amount of presence, because that means that you are responsible for finding all of those kinks, like what we just showed you in those thought processes, all of those little places that created the momentum that you're experiencing. It's up to you to find those and to find a way out of them. And to find the way out of them, you must be honest with yourself. You must be able to start finding the little doorways that open you up to the next stage on that path. All right. So this is kind of an advanced topic because it's really teaching you guys how to go into yourselves and realize what you're contributing with your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions to your life, and how that contribution is giving you whatever results you've got. And it means that in order to really explore power or create power, you have to give up blame. If you really want power, you cannot use blame. Okay? You can deeply understand what is yours and what is someone else's. And you can learn to allow someone else whatever is theirs. But that's it. After that, it is 100% in your court. And so you have to become addicted to not blaming in order to have power, in order to have real authority in your own life, in order to have real influence in the world. You cannot be someone who blames or complains. Okay? And we're saying this not from a behavior modification standpoint, not from, in my mind I'm blaming, in my mind I'm complaining, but out loud I'm not. We're saying you've got to go all the way in and do this from a place of, inside myself, I'm going to figure out what is my responsibility to change. I'm going to figure out what is my responsibility to let go of. And I'm going to figure out how to use my focus, my energy, my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions to move me forward. This means I'm going to become the ultimate problem solver of my own life. When you decide, when you truly decide to be the ultimate problem solver of your own life, all kinds of things begin to change. All kinds of things. You will see physical illnesses change, mental illnesses change, emotional burdens change, relationships with other people change. Everything starts to change. And really, there is quite a difference in the type of person who is dedicated to solving problems and the type of person who's dedicated to blaming things on others or things. It doesn't really matter. You can blame things on your government or whatever, or you can be the type of person that goes, okay, this is the problem. I'm going to figure it out. This is the issue. I'm going to figure out what the solution is. I'm going to get every single component of me on board to figuring out a solution to this problem. If you approach life in this way, with absolute honesty within yourself, you can create momentum in any area that you want to create momentum. There is no exclusion to that whatsoever. And if you can create momentum in any area, then you can create great power in any area. So when you start to create momentum in an area, when you are practicing your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your decision-making, your problem-solving, when you're contributing all of that to something that you want, you, of course, start to have more and more experiences that show you that you are moving toward what you want. Because now you've got all of life cooperating with you. Okay? You've basically said to your life, this is what I want and I'm willing to work for it. I'm willing to work for it on all these different levels. And your life will go, okay, all right, well, we're going to work with you. And so your experiences start to change. And as your experiences start to change and you start to see evidence of what you're pouring your energy into, you gain what? Confidence. And when you gain confidence, you are contributing even more mightily to the momentum and to the power of whatever it is. Okay? Because what happens with real confidence? With real confidence, there is no insecurity. Where there is a lack of confidence, there is a deep insecurity. When there is a deep insecurity, are you able to forge the way yourself, or are you subject to every single opinion that comes your way? You are subject to every opinion that comes your way when you are in a place of insecurity. All right? So, in order to have power, one of the things to become extremely honest with yourself about is your areas of insecurity. And when you become honest about your areas of insecurity, you've got to get in there, feel it completely, accept it into you, not try to push it away, but accept it as though you're standing there with a little toddler who's feeling insecure. When there's a toddler standing next to you who's feeling insecure, do you kick the toddler and tell him to go away? Or do you pick up the toddler and hug them and say, it's going to be okay? Hopefully you're going to pick up the toddler. And this is the way that we want you guys to start thinking about these, quote, negative emotions that you have that get you kind of stuck in loops. We want you to experience more of embracing them. Experience more of being very honest about their existence and allowing it to be. Because it is actually in the feeling of them, in the ability to deeply feel those emotions within yourself and not run from them, that begins to integrate them with you. And when something begins to integrate, because it's been accepted, it starts to change into its opposite. That's how powerful presence is. That's how powerful honesty is. All right? So once you start doing that, once you start addressing your deep insecurities or deep fears in this way, with the heart of compassion, with the intention to embrace, with the intention to accept, and to allow to become part of you, you automatically become more powerful. And this is why. Power is energy, okay? And when you have all of those splits, we're calling a deep insecurity or a deep fear, one of those things that you try to push away, we're calling that a split. When you have all of those splits in your consciousness, that means all of your energy is spread around. And each one of those holds pieces of you, energy of you. So the more you integrate, the more power you have. The more power you have in that way, the more energy you have to use towards something that you want. So is it starting to make sense why honesty is crucial to power? In order to have true authority in your life, you have to have honesty. You have to have willingness to integrate, to accept whatever you find. And then you have to have willingness to put forth whatever effort is needed to change course on things that you don't like, to change course on areas where you don't like the momentum. All right? So we're speaking in a broad way about awareness. about the power of awareness and what it can do in your life. It can completely transform a life, the power of awareness can. And the power of avoidance can completely destroy a life. Every single thing that you guys do not like comes from avoidance, period. There is zero exceptions to that. That is a blanket statement that we can confidently make. Everything that exists in this world that you guys don't like is there because of avoidance. Some type of avoidance. And remember, avoidance can have momentum too. Avoidance can have power too. When something is avoided long enough, it has a very strong momentum, okay? And when something is avoided enough, you get really, really, really horrible outcomes. So becoming powerful means that you become aware of everything you're contributing in your life. All of the good, all of the bad. That you become aware of the deep unconscious of you. You become aware of your own blackness. You become willing to look at your own darkness. If you are not willing to look at your own darkness, then you will never have all of the power that you can. And the reason that you won't is because of what we just explained. When you go into the dark and you find something that you don't like, and you offer your love and compassion to it, and you accept it as part of you with your whole heart, it starts to turn into light, contributing to the power of you. If you are unwilling to go into the darkness of you, that is all of that energy that will never be transformed into the other part of you. Which means that, in a sense, you're energetically crippled. Until you explore your own darkness, there is vast amounts of energy that you are not utilizing for the things that you desire. There are vast amounts of energy that are creating by default. Because you guys are vibrational beings. You are constantly sending out frequencies. And there is nothing you can do about that. You will always do that. So what you have to figure out is, what frequencies am I sending? And if things that you don't like keep showing up in your life, then you have darkness that you have not explored. And if you want to have power to change the things that you don't like, you must explore the darkness. So on that note, we would like to accept questions, if you have any. Does anyone have a question? No one? No one has a question. So this is all making sense to you guys. Does it make sense to you, Keith?
It does. It's profound. Can I ask a question?
You can.
So when we look at this popular movement of the law of attraction, then just to help to clarify for me, what is overall the missing piece when people are trying to utilize this law of attraction? What are the main components they're normally missing out on? Or including that shouldn't be in there, in this realm of power?
Well, what we notice is that regarding the law of attraction, what most people aren't fully comprehending is that the law of attraction is based upon frequencies and magnetism. Okay, so we just explained to you guys that you have vast amounts of frequencies that are going at the same time all the time, and that some of these frequencies are kind of going rogue in a sense.
Sure.
So let's say that there is some type of trauma from your childhood and it hasn't been addressed, okay? And from that trauma, a deep-seated belief was created that no one really shares love. People only act like they love to receive something back. Okay. Well, that deep-seated belief from that trauma, if not dealt with, if not discovered, will continue to create situations that look like abandonment, that feel like you're unloved. Okay? So it's so important to be able to get into these components of you that have been hurt and to really be with them, really feel them, really understand them, so that you can, number one, embrace that part of you that was wounded and accept it completely and all of its thinking, all of its emotion, accept it as part of you. When you accept it as part of you, when you nurture it in a way that says, it's okay that this is the way you feel, I'm going to feel it with you. I'm going to validate this feeling with you. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm going to accept you. When you do that, you teach that component that it is, in fact, lovable. That there is someone who can love without needing something back. And it starts to transform. And so that aspect of you starts to integrate with the part of you that offered compassion and become more whole. Now, the frequency that will be coming from that area is completely different. Now, it's more in line with it is possible for someone to give love just because they want to give love. It is possible for me to not be manipulated or fooled into love. So it might sound simple, but energetically speaking, it's profound. Okay? So we have a question from Sese. Are there exercises you can recommend to us to start this process? These things you're mentioning, much can be attributed to past life experiences, or maybe a spirit releasement process needs to be addressed before we can address the things, before we as an individual can address them. What's your thoughts on this aspect? As far as it being about past lives, is there some of that? Yeah, there's some of that, but no, that is not the majority of what's going on. The majority of what's going on is about this life that you're living right now. And in fact, if when we're teaching our students, we basically tell you guys to abandon everything that you think about past lives, okay? And the reason is that all it does is becomes a distraction. We have worked with so many people that go, well, that's because it was from a past life, or blah, 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 blah. But the same principles still apply. Even if it's from a, quote, past life, if you are feeling an emotion from that experience and that emotion is not dealt with, it has a ripple effect in your being right now. You are not dealing with it right now, and that is affecting your frequencies that you are outputting right now. So it doesn't really matter where it came from. It almost doesn't matter at all. What matters is that you're able to get into it. So you see, saying that something is from a past life is just another way to blame something else. Well, I can't really do anything about it because it's from a past life. If it is from another life and you're having memory of it and you're having emotion about it, you are meant to deal with it right now. So do you understand what we're saying? It's somewhat irrelevant. The responsibility is still on you to deal with it. And the way that you deal with it, no matter where it's from, is from going into the emotion of it. So your emotions are your doorways into these frequencies, into these areas that need to be integrated. So as far as a practice, that is the practice. If you guys can get really good at being still with your emotions, allowing yourselves to really go into them, allowing yourselves to feel them with your whole body, with your whole heart, and not try to run from them, you will start to experience what we're talking about. It is the best way to do what we're talking about. It is the fastest way to do what we're talking about. It's just that it's also the most uncomfortable way to do what we're talking about. When you're in a state of anger, or when you're in a state of rage, or when you're experiencing extreme grief, the last thing you want to do is experience it. You guys want to run from it. You want to get away from it. You want to distract yourself from it so that you don't have to deal with it. But that is avoidance. And avoidance will create its own momentum if you keep practicing it, and it will create all of the things that you do not want, including serious illnesses like cancer. So the best and most productive way to generate your own power is to be willing to go into your deep-seated emotions. And you always have a doorway into them because you guys are constantly having them. So even if something in your life, let's say somebody cuts you off in traffic, all right, and immediately you feel anger. Even though that is an isolated event where you felt anger because your existence was almost terminated, the anger itself that you're feeling is actually a doorway into everything else that you've ever experienced that made you angry that you have not dealt with. Okay, that is huge. That means that every single day of your life is offering to you all different types of experiences to help you get into these frequencies and straighten them out. Every day, every single day, your life is offering you doorways. The question is, can you walk through them? Can you sit in these emotions with full presence, allowing them to integrate with you? That's really the question. And anyone can do it, but most people don't do it. Now, what happens is at first when you start practicing this, it'll wear you out pretty quickly because you're not used to going into your own crap and feeling it and comprehending it, understanding it, holding compassion with it. You're not used to doing that. All right? And so when you first start practicing this, it will wear you out. But the more you practice it, the stronger you get with it. The stronger you get with it, the more power you have. The more power and energy you have, the more you're even able to help others do this kind of thing. Okay? And the more you're able to clearly see when someone else isn't doing it. So part of the reason we're able to feel so easily when someone isn't doing it is because all of these years that we've been teaching Angel, we've taught her how to do this. So it is automatic for her now. If she's having a negative emotion, we teach her, hey, there's your doorway. Go in, do something with it, stop running from it. And so her practice of avoidance in her life is extremely minimal. So she has exercised this muscle. So we can take individual people, we can take large groups of people, and we can hold enough energy for them to help them go through these processes. So think about that. That's a lot of energy. If you've ever tried to go into an emotion and transform it just on your own, just on one of your own emotions, you know how exhausting it is. Now think about trying to hold space to help 10 or 20 people do that at the same time, and how exhausting that would be. But the thing is, the more you practice it, the stronger you get, the easier it is to help others do it too. So this is actually one of the most prominent ways to change your world. If everyone will just become accountable and responsible for their own emotional states, period, that's it. And learn how to go into them and transform them by accepting them, by bringing them into themselves, by embracing them. Then you guys can lead each other out of darknesses. You can help others find these places within them that are hard for them to access. Because the more practice you have at something, the easier it is to teach someone else, right? If you can't play piano, you can't teach somebody else to play piano. But we notice so many humans are always wanting to help other people out of their darkness, but are not willing to walk themselves out of their own. Well, you're never going to walk anyone else out of their darkness if you do not walk yourself out of yours. From Eileen, I play in my emotions like getting to know a new friend, asking questions and listening to their story. Is this what you mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we mean. And then just feeling it completely. And what happens when you are feeling emotions completely, and your intent with doing that is to integrate, you start having less and less of a charge in that emotional area, okay? So, and we do mean to take action with this kind of thing as well. So, for example, if there's someone who keeps having rage fits, and when they go into the rage, they realize, oh my gosh, I'm in this rage fit. All I can do is think about all these different things that these people have done that just make me so angry. And the next step we would say is, okay, so in each of those things that you're feeling, how many of those were addressed? How many of those things that added up to this rage fit were you having mature conversations with someone else about? Like, okay, so-and-so, when you are on the computer for 5 hours straight and you act like I don't exist, it makes me very upset. It makes me feel very ignored. Did you have that conversation with the person? And sometimes someone will say yes, but a lot of times what happens when someone's feeling rage fits is that they've got all kinds of situations going on like that where they weren't addressing what was happening. And so it's the little bits of anger, little bits of anger, little bits of anger, little bits of anger that end up in this rage fit, okay? So in a situation like that, that's why we're saying getting to know this type of thing and being really honest is so important, because if you don't understand where the rage is coming from, how are you going to put action toward addressing it? So when you realize, oh my gosh, okay, so yes, I am angry about what the things that other people are doing, but my part of that whole thing is that I am not actually putting forth any effort to problem solve with this individual. So this individual doesn't even know that it bothers me and why it bothers me. So I haven't really given them the opportunity to correct it with me. Okay, so someone that's experiencing rage fits because of that, there's going to be a different way of dealing with all of those emotions than someone who's having rage fits because they're having flashbacks from being sexually abused as a child. All right. Now, in both of them, going into the emotion itself in order to be with it and accept it as part of themselves is important. But the action steps on how to heal it are different. And what you will understand about action steps on how to heal something occurs when you're willing to go into the emotion itself. So, Eileen, regarding getting in there and hearing their stories and that sort of thing, sure, that's very important because that gives you insight into how to change the momentum. Correct? But if you're hearing the stories and you're not putting forth any effort to change the momentum, then you're getting stuck in the process. Do you see what we're saying? Do you guys understand this? Okay, good. So are there any other questions, guys? Joni, okay, we'll unmute
How do you deal with being on the receiving end of somebody else's rage fit?
Well, that's a good question.
It's a lifelong pattern I've been trying to deal with.
So why don't you tell us how you've been dealing with it and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, it happens and then you have a physiological reaction and you want to avoid it and get away from it before it turns physical.
Right. Okay. So when it's somebody else who's experiencing the rage fit over and over again.
Towards me.
Toward you. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, number one, we would ask the person when they're in a calm state, do you understand what's causing you to go into rage fits toward me? So that would be the first question we would ask. Mm-hmm. Because when it has to do with somebody else, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah.
You are kind of, you're in a position where you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I willing to do in this scenario? So if we were in your shoes and we deeply loved this person and we had faith that they wanted to change this behavior and this very uncomfortable feeling, obviously, that they have inside often, is, do you want to change this? Speaking to the person who's having the rage fits. Are you interested in changing this? And so then we would see what they had to say about that. And then we would say, well, what type of effort are you willing to put into changing it? And we would hear what they have to say about that. After that, we would see what they're willing to follow through with, meaning what type of help are they seeking to solve this issue? All right. If we did not see them taking any steps to solve the issue, but they were repeatedly abusing us because they won't seek out healing for it, then we would walk out of that picture. And the reason is that there's nothing you can do. You cannot fix somebody else's rage. Mm-hmm. They are the only one who can fix that rage. Okay? Now, if you were smacking that person upside the head every morning with a frying pan, and that's why they were getting in rage fits, then obviously you would stop hitting them in the head with a frying pan. Mm-hmm. But if you're not the one doing something to create the rage, then there's nothing you can do, right? Now, what we notice is that a lot of people who have rage will say, you're doing this and it's causing the rage. But most of the time, what's actually occurring is that person is in such a blame loop, mm-hmm. so unable to take accountability for themselves, that they will find someone else to blame no matter what. And so what we notice in that is that what's fueling the rage at that point is actually their own avoidance in seeking their own woundedness and that the blaming of the person is just the avoidance acting out again. And as long as the blame is occurring, you can be assured that the rage will not stop. Because the one thing that needs to be occurring for that person to heal those rage fits is to take accountability for him or herself. So if they're not willing to do that, then you're left with 0 options. Do you see? And
I see.
that's what has to happen, you know, sometimes with you guys when you're in these abusive situations. If the other person is not willing to look at themselves and not willing to do their own inner work, there is absolutely nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is accept the futility of the relationship. That's it. Okay? So that's the order we would do it in. Does that answer your question, Jenny?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Well, it is 11:01. We hope that you have enjoyed this topic of power. We have. And we hope that you can listen to this again and again, perhaps, and really start to explore what we're speaking about and get some results out of it. And if you want to work one-on-one with us, we do have our introductory course coming up for our mentorship program. It's a 6-week course. It lets you know if you want to work longer with us, okay? So if you're interested in that, it starts on September 28th. We'd love to work with you, but we really help you get into this type of issue, into these type of things, and start transforming it for yourself. But you have us there with our support, our energy, our guidance to help you through it. So it does make it a lot easier. We can help you guys move a lot faster. So if you're interested in that, give Angel a shout or Keith, and we really appreciate you guys being on this webinar today. It was wonderful to see all of you. And we deeply care about all of you. Have a wonderful morning,
Thank you.
evening, night, whatever time it is for you. Good night, everyone.